One Browser Tab by Steve Pavlina. It scares me when people tell me they have 10 plus web browser tabs regularly open at the same time. For some, it's well into the dozens. This isn't intelligent behavior. It will have a negative impact on your mental functioning if you make this a habit. How is it possible to have 10 plus browser tabs open regularly and not have some part of you crying out to learn single-handedly? You probably don't even see how distracted your mind is while doing this. If you've been doing this long enough, it may even seem normal for you. That's a dreadful situation to find yourself in. I suggest you break the habit. Each tab is an open loop. Each tab is a distraction from the task you've focused on. If you can even call a multi-tabbed life focused at all, each tab weakens your self-discipline. Look at all those open tabs and say to yourself, this is not intelligent behavior. This is weakness. This is distraction. This is indecision. It's time to put a stop to this. Here's a challenge for you. Do a 30-day trial of using only one browser tab. Never open a second tab during that month. One tab is plenty. How to Decide. Simple Tools for Making Better Choices by Annie Duke. Introduction. You make thousands of decisions every day, some big, some small, some clearly of great consequence, like what job to take, and some clearly of little consequence, like what to eat for breakfast. No matter what type of decision you are facing, it's imperative to develop a decision process that not only improves your decision quality, but also helps sort your decision so you can identify which ones are bigger and which ones are smaller. Why is it so important to have a high-quality decision process? Because there are only two things that determine how your life turns out: luck and the quality of your decision. You have control over only one of those two things. Luck, by definition, is out of your control. Where and when you were born, whether your boss comes into work in a bad mood, which admissions officer happens to see your college application. These are all things that are out of your hands. What you do have some control over, what you can improve, is the quality of your decisions. And when you make better quality decisions, you increase the chances that good things will happen to you. I believe this is a pretty non-controversial thing to say. It's important to improve your decision process because it's the one thing you have control over in determining the quality of your life. Junk food was our love language. To feel close to my father, a man I never fully knew, I eat chicken nuggets by C. Palm John. It's autumn again, the 8th since my father died, and I'm craving chicken nuggets. When the pandemic began, I craved foods that happens to feel more virtuous. I was a frequent takeout customer at the local San Francisco restaurants in economic peril. Beef noodle soup from a mom and pop on Irving, refried beans from a taqueria on 24th Street, a pork chop from the beloved neighborhood spot on Diva Stereo, Every action I took was fraught with the concept of doing good. I purchased stacks of books from independent bookstores, researched gardening gloves, downloaded a workout app, started reading War and Peace. And then depression, Zoom fatigue, a major life milestone passing without the ability to celebrate it. The deaths of public figures, the deaths of frontline workers, the death of a friend's father, the deaths of migrants detained at the border, the death of friend's father, the death of another friend's father. 6 months later, I was moving 800 miles in an attempt to overrun a suffocating sense of doom, driving across state lines, every stop an exercise in anxiously navigating shared airspace and in constant mask policy. And all I wanted was the ease of a drive-through chicken nugget. My father would have understood. What Do You Hate Not Doing by Derek Sivers. When we wonder what's worth doing, we ask ourselves, what do I really love? Or what makes me happy? That question never really goes well, does it? Maybe it's because there's a long list of things that make us happy, and we need to narrow it down further. Or maybe because the things with the deepest rewards don't always provide shallow pleasures along the way. So try this question instead. What do you hate? What do you hate not doing? What makes you feel depressed, annoyed, or like your life has gone astray if you don't do it enough? Answers to this double negative question seem to be better indicators of what's really worth doing. What if you could do it all over? What if you could do it all over? The Uncanny Allure of Our Unlived Lives by Joshua Rothman. Once, in another life, I was a tech founder. It was the late 90s, when the web was young and everyone was trying to cash in on the dot-com boom. In college, two of my dorm mates and I discovered that we'd each started an internet company in high school, and we merged them to form a single teenage megacorp. For around $600 a month, we rented office space in the basement of a building in town. We made websites and software for an early dating service, an insurance claims processing firm, and an online store where customers could bargain with a cartoon avatar for overstocked goods. I lived large, spent the money I made on tuition, food, and stereo. Bargain with the cartoon avatar. I liked this entrepreneurial existence, its ambition, its scrappy, near-future velocity. I thought I might move to San Francisco and work in tech. I saw a path, an opening to life. But as the dot-com bubble burst, our client's business was acquired by a firm that was acquired by another firm that didn't want what we'd made. Our invoices went unpaid. It was senior year. A fork in the road. We closed our business and moved out the office. A few days before graduation, when I went to pay my tuition bill, a girl on the elevator struck up a conversation, then got off at the floor. On my ride down, she stepped down for a second time, and our conversation continued. We started dating. Then we went to graduate school in English together. We got married. I became a journalist, and we had a son. I now have a life, a world, a story. I'm me, not him, whoever he might have turned out to be. Selection from the hill we climb. We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders becomes their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might, and might with right, then love becomes our legacy, and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left with. Joe Biden's inaugural address. My fellow Americans, in the work ahead of us, we will need each other. We will need all our strength to persevere through this dark winter. We are entering what may well be the toughest and deadliest period of the virus. We must set aside the politics and finally face this pandemic as one nation. I promise you this, as the Bible says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. We will get through this together. The world is watching today. So here's my message to those beyond our borders. America has been tested, and we have come out stronger for it. We will repair our alliances and engage with the world once again, not to meet yesterday's challenges, but today's and tomorrow's. We will lead not merely by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. We will be a strong and trusted partner for peace, progress, and security. We have been through so much in this nation. And in my first act as president, I would like to ask you to join me in a moment of silent prayer to remember all those we lost this past year to the pandemic, to those 400,000 fellow Americans, mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sons and daughters, friends, neighbors, and co-workers. We will honor them by becoming the people and nation we know we can be, we can and should be. Let us say a silent prayer for those who lost their lives, for those they left behind, and for our country. Amen. A new year is a beautiful fresh start by Liu Babato. At the beginning of every year, it's like a blank slate. The year can be whatever you want it to be. This is freeing, exhilarating, magical. Take advantage of it, my friends. Of course, we always have the magic of a fresh start available to us. In any day, any hour, any moment. In any day, any hour, any moment. Every morning is a beautiful fresh start. In fact, right this moment, you have the opportunity of a fresh start. We should take advantage of these opportunities to see the freshness of the moment in front of us. I recently was talking with my Zen teacher and admitted I hadn't been studying as much as I committed to doing. She advised, start at 1, basically in basic breath meditation, where you might count your breaths. Your mind will get distracted and wander, and then you can simply start at 1. Start at 1. This is one of my mantras this year. Let's look at how to practice with this during each day, and a couple ways you can take advantage of starting at 1 as we look at this beautiful year in front of us. Practicing a fresh start in each day. Every morning, you get to ask yourself, what would I like to do with this incredible day? What would make today incredible for me? What am I feeling called to do today? What's most important? You can wipe the slate clean of whatever happened the day before, no matter what it was, and just start anew. And then you get a couple hours into it, and maybe you find yourself off course. You've gotten distracted or caught up in busy work. Start again. Take a breath and imagine this next moment is a blank slate. What is most important right now? What would you like to do this incredible hour in front of you? Start again and find a gratitude that you get to start again over and over. I had no idea how to raise boys, so I read to them. By Lauren Bates. Coming from an essentially matriarchal family, I was a bit scant of ideas on how to raise a son. I was neither athletic nor mechanical. The people seemed to think that these were primary requirements for relating to a boy. Since my relationship with books has been a defining thread in my life, it was not surprising that my version of motherhood soon turned to share reading. Reading aloud was both recommended for good parenting and something that I could definitely do. It turned out, however, that I didn't quite realize how much I had signed myself up for. Reading seemed to be exactly suited to my older son, a boy who didn't like to sleep, wanted to be held around the clock, and liked to observe things. I read all of the expected books, Go Night Moon, Go Night Gorilla, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, and Dr. Seuss. I had not, perhaps, anticipated his thirst for reputation. Even now, when he is in graduate school, I can repeat whole passages of Mike Mulligan at his steam shovel by heart, and as he developed his own taste, I found myself immersed in modern eccentric literature, Home Depot catalogs, his grandfather's mobile crane manual, old National Geographic magazines. His young brother's path toward literature was a little more winding. An early worker and household destroyer, I found myself reading aloud to my exuberant little charmer while he ran in circles and swept books. chalk and cooking pans off the shelves. His taste was more edgy than technical, running to repeated rays of everyone poops and the captain on pants. Declaration of Geneva. As a member of the medical profession, I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of humanity. The health and well-being of my patient will be first consideration. I will respect the autonomy and dignity of my patient. I will maintain the utmost respect for human life. I will not permit considerations of age, disease or disability, creed, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, social standing, or another factor to intervene between my duty and my patient. I will respect the secrets that are confided in me, even after the patient has died. I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity, and in accordance with good medical practice. Conscience. I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity, and in accordance with good medical practice. I will foster the honor and noble traditions of the medical profession. I will give to my teacher, colleagues, and students the respect and gratitude that is their due. I will share my medical knowledge of the benefit of the patient and the advancement of health care. I will attend to my own health, well-being, and ability in order to provide care of the highest standard. I will not use my medical knowledge to violate human rights and civil liberties, even under threat. I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. Your Relationship with Text Messaging by Steve Pavlina. How would you rate your current relationship with texting on a scale of 1 to 10? A 1 means you really need to improve how you use this tool. A 10 means you are using the tool in a way that works very well for you, and other people who text you understand and respect your boundaries. I feel that I have a healthy relationship with text messaging. It's generally not a distraction. I use it effectively, and my approach works well for me. Boundary issues are uncommon and easily fixed. So let me share some tips regarding how I use it. See if any of this helps you reassess your own relationship with texting. Define your desired relationship with texting in advance. Instead of addressing issues only in a reactive bottom-up manner, get clear about the role you want this tool to play in your life. What are the justifiable and intelligent use cases for it? What use would be distracting and should be considered out of bounds? I encourage you to write up your own personal list of do's and don'ts for the tool. Keep your phone outside of your workspace. If your phone is your primary texting device, and if your work doesn't primarily involve texting, leave your phone elsewhere while working. I leave mine in the kitchen while I work in my home office. Respond on your schedule. If you always respond to people immediately when they text you, you will train them to expect that. If this works for you, great, but if not, just respond when it's convenient. I often don't reply to texts for a day or two. How is your current relationship with text messaging working for you? This type of tool will probably be around for many more years, so it's wise to make this a healthy and positive relationship. When this relationship isn't working well, it becomes an added source of stress. When this relationship is working well, it can add meaningful value and a connection to your life.